AITA for bringing my own food to a friend's party because she always asks everyone to get laid but never cooks anything herself. She just invites us and waits for us to do everything. I am a 24-year-old woman, and my friend Rachel, who is 25, invited me to what she called a fun night in at her place. Rachel and I have been friends for a couple of years now. We met through mutuals back in college and kept in touch even after graduating. She is fun, social, and one of those people who always seems to know where the good times are happening. So when she texted me about a casual get-together at her apartment, I was genuinely excited. She said she wanted a chill night, something low-key with good company, drinks, music, and just some fun to break up the monotony of our routine weeks. Her exact words were, "You should totally bring some people too, make it a vibe." That sounded perfect. I reached out to a few of our mutual friends, not random strangers, but people she already knew, and they were all down. It was nothing formal, no dress code, no event flyer or anything. Just a casual Saturday night plan that had the potential to be really fun without anyone overthinking it. The night itself? Honestly, it was great. Rachel had done a pretty good job setting everything up. When we arrived, there were fairy lights strung across the living room, a playlist running from her speaker that was actually well curated, and drinks already flowing. She had some snacks laid out, chips, salsa, mini sliders, and even a tray of cupcakes. A couple of board games were sitting on the coffee table, and people had already broken out into groups talking, laughing, and vibing with the music. There was that warm, cozy feeling you get when you're with people you're comfortable with, in a space that feels lived in but welcoming. We played games, told stories, shared music recommendations, and even had a silly little dance circle going on at one point. At no point during the night did it feel like this was anything other than a hosted gathering, as in, Rachel wanted to host and bring people together just for the sake of having a good time. There were no signs, no jars labeled tips, no joking comments about costs or contributing. It genuinely felt like she was doing something kind for the sake of it. And look, I get that hosting can be expensive. But the vibe she set, from the way she invited us to the way the night was unfolding, was very much, "This is on me, just come enjoy yourselves." Fast forward to the end of the night. People had started to head out. A couple of friends were gathering their things, some were calling Ubers, others were saying their goodbyes. I was helping gather a few empty cups and tossing out trash, just trying to be a good guest. That's when Rachel suddenly walked back into the living room holding a receipt. A literal printed receipt. She casually announced that she had totaled everything she spent for the party and that we should all just Venmo her our share, since she covered everything for tonight. There was this weird pause in the room. It was like someone had scratched a record. Nobody said anything right away, probably because we were all trying to figure out if she was joking. But no. She held up the receipt and started listing off the costs, drinks, snacks, decorations, even the cupcakes, and then divided the total by the number of people who came. She gave us a dollar amount per person, and then, as if this was the most normal thing in the world, started exchanging Venmo handles. The thing is, none of us had any idea this was going to be a pay-your-way type of night. She had never mentioned it, not when she invited me, not in the group chat, not during the party, and definitely not in any way that even hinted this was expected. She had invited us. She had encouraged me to bring others. At no point did this come across like a potluck or a shared expense situation. And yet, here we were, standing in her living room after what we all thought was a fun, no-pressure night, now suddenly being asked to pay for it like we had signed up for some event package. I glanced at a few of our mutuals and I could tell they were as caught off guard as I was. But no one wanted to be the one to start something. The energy had shifted, that easy, carefree vibe from earlier was gone, replaced by awkward glances and hesitant smiles. One by one, people pulled out their phones and just paid her. Including me. Because what else could we really do at that point? It would have been way more uncomfortable to say no or push back in front of everyone. But here's the thing. As I was walking home that night, the more I thought about it, the more upset I became. Not because of the money, it wasn't even a huge amount. It was the principle. The way she framed the whole thing felt manipulative. If she had said from the beginning, "Hey, I'm planning this little party and it'll cost about X per person, would you be down to chip in?" I would have had no problem with that. I appreciate transparency. But to wait until the night is done, after everyone has eaten, drank, danced, and let their guard down, and then drop a bill on us? That just felt wrong. It felt like a bait-and-switch. I ended up texting a couple of friends about it the next day to see if I was just overthinking it. Turns out, they felt the same way. None of us were thrilled, but again, no one wanted to be the one to bring it up. It's just awkward. And while Rachel is not some evil mastermind or anything, I genuinely think she might have convinced herself this was totally normal, like she could play hostess and accountant at the same time without giving anyone a heads up. So, yeah. Was I wrong for feeling weird about this? Should I have said something in the moment? Or was this a totally fair move on her part that just caught me off guard? I still do not know how to feel about it entirely. Update 1. So I honestly thought that was going to be the end of it. After the weirdness of Rachel springing a Venmo request on all of us after what we thought was a hosted party, I figured she would either get the hint or at least lay low for a while. I had pulled back a bit socially, not in a dramatic way, but just quietly reevaluating the vibe. I mean, I am all for giving people the benefit of the doubt, but I also do not like feeling manipulated or used, and that whole situation left a bitter taste. But about a week later, Rachel sent out another invite. Same group of friends, same tone, casual, upbeat, wanting to get everyone together again for a chill night. She even acknowledged that last time she might have come off a bit wrong, and that this night would be different. She said she just wanted everyone to relax, eat, and enjoy the company. No strings attached. She emphasized that she missed hanging out with everyone and didn't want one awkward moment to define the group vibe. And to be fair, the way she framed it was almost disarming. It felt like a second chance. A do-over. Most of us were hesitant, but after chatting in a couple of side texts, the consensus was basically, alright, let's give it another shot. Friendships go through weird moments, and this could just be a case of poor communication. We all agreed to meet up the following Saturday evening. Then, a few hours before we were supposed to arrive, I was literally getting ready to leave, Rachel sent a group text. Not just a quick check-in or a reminder. No, this was a full-blown breakdown. A list. A detailed list of groceries, supplies, and items that each person had to buy and bring. It was organized like a military operation. Name by name, item by item. My name was next to shredded lettuce, sour cream, a 12-pack of Sprite, and aluminum foil. Other people had things like taco shells, ground beef, diced tomatoes, chopped onions, napkins, shredded cheese, cooking oil, guacamole, even paper plates and disposable cups. It was as if she had taken a grocery list for a taco night, split it evenly, and then assigned it out like a group project, one of those group projects where the leader, delegates, and then ghosts. The thing is, by that point, most of us were already in motion. A couple of people were literally leaving work. One friend was already en route from the train station. Another had just finished getting dressed. None of us expected a last-minute demand for supplies, and definitely not with this level of detail. But everyone was trying to be nice, trying not to rock the boat. So instead of backing out, we all scrambled. We split up the list. A few of us had to make quick runs to the store, and some had to swap items between each other because of store availability. I ended up making 2 separate stops because the first store was out of the specific lettuce brand she asked for. Yes, she had preferences. By the time we all arrived at her place, everyone was a little frazzled, but trying to keep things light. We were hoping that once we got inside, things would smooth over and the night would be worth the chaos. But no. As soon as we walked in, it was clear what this night was really going to be. Rachel opened the door, smiling like nothing was off, thanked everyone for being amazing, and said how happy she was to have friends she could rely on. Then she said something that honestly made my jaw clench. She said she was the one orchestrating the whole event, so obviously she wouldn't be doing any of the actual work. She pointed to the kitchen, which was completely empty, not a single pan on the stove, no prep done, not even utensils laid out, and then gestured like a maitre d' in a restaurant and said something about how stations were open and we could get started. We stood there for a beat, still holding our grocery bags, waiting for her to laugh or say she was kidding. But nope. She was completely serious. We slowly started putting things away and unpacking ingredients like we were contestants on a cooking show. The only problem was, this was not a team bonding activity or a planned, cook-together moment. This was Rachel expecting her guests to literally make their own food, from scratch, in her kitchen, while she supervised and occasionally played DJ. And when I say make their own food, I mean fully prep, cook, and serve everything. One of our friends was browning the beef. Another was chopping the onions because someone had brought a whole onion instead of pre-chopped and Rachel had noted that detail aloud. I ended up setting up a little topping station with bowls for lettuce, cheese, tomatoes, and guac. People were opening bags, unwrapping foil, setting up napkins. It was like some weird potluck where the host just watched. Rachel floated around, occasionally saying things like, "This looks amazing," and "You guys are the best," but she did not touch a single pan, didn't help with cleanup, and didn't contribute a single item. When someone asked if she had plates, she literally said she was waiting for whoever had them on the list to show up. I could not make this up if I tried. Eventually, we got the food made, and everyone sat around awkwardly eating tacos that we had cooked ourselves, with ingredients we had all purchased. Rachel sat with us, eating too, laughing like everything was normal. There was no acknowledgement of the effort everyone had just put in, no, thanks for bringing all this, no real gratitude. Just vague comments about how, we always make the best nights together. Most of us didn't stay long after we ate. The energy was weird. It was not angry or dramatic, just kind of drained and awkward. People made excuses about early mornings or needing to get home before the trains slowed down. I left not long after finishing my second taco, and on the walk back, I could not stop thinking about how surreal it all was. It was like Rachel had discovered a new way to host a party, by doing absolutely nothing while outsourcing every single aspect of it to her guests. No effort, no spending, no cooking, but somehow she still got the credit for bringing everyone together. The next morning, the group chat lit up. No one said anything too harsh, but the confusion was palpable. One person asked, "Was that normal?" Another joked about opening a taco truck with how efficiently we had all worked in the kitchen. Someone else pointed out that Rachel did not even have a trash bag ready after the cooking. Everyone was polite, but there was definitely a collective realization that this was not okay, and definitely not what any of us signed up for. Nobody wanted to make a scene, but the group chat the next day was surprised. Update 2. So you would think, after the taco night fiasco, that would be it. That maybe Rachel would pause, reflect, take in some feedback, or at the very least, chill for a bit and rethink how she approached this whole hosting thing. But no. That level of self-awareness would require effort, and Rachel, as it turns out, is only interested in effort when it comes from other people. Another week went by. No apologies. No questions about availability. No friendly check-ins. Just a single message dropped into the group chat on a Thursday afternoon like it was perfectly normal, another grocery list. No greeting, no context, no, "Hey, who's free this weekend?" Just a cold, bulleted list with assignments tagged next to names. As if we had all enrolled in some invisible RSVP system that meant we were now part of an unpaid catering team. I remember reading that message and just staring at it for a second, wondering what alternate reality I had stumbled into. I wasn't even mad anymore. I was just done. It was like watching someone double down on delusion. This time, Rachel didn't even pretend to check who was coming. She didn't ask. She just assumed we were all available, ready, and willing to do this again. I was apparently on drinks duty, again, and this time it was more specific: ginger ale, sparkling water, and 3 kinds of juice. Not brands, just vibes. I didn't respond. Not a thumbs up. Not a question mark. Just silence. I decided if Rachel was going to keep playing host without actually hosting, then I was going to play guest on my terms. Saturday rolled around. I ordered myself a large pepperoni pizza, nothing fancy, just solid comfort food from the place down the block. I got dressed, grabbed the box, and walked to Rachel's apartment like I was showing up for movie night at a normal person's house, not a pop-up dinner service disguised as friendship. When I arrived, people were already there, bags in hand, some of them unpacking ingredients in the kitchen. The energy was weird. Familiar, but heavy. I walked in, said hi like nothing was out of place, carried my pizza box to the couch, opened it, pulled out a slice, and started eating. That was it. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I didn't make a scene. I just ate my pizza like it was the most natural thing in the world. The silence was immediate. People stopped moving. I could feel eyes on me, but no one said anything at first. Rachel came out from the kitchen, clearly noticing that something was off. When she saw me sitting there, comfortably eating from a greasy cardboard box, her whole expression shifted. She wasn't angry in the explosive, yelling kind of way, it was worse. She looked betrayed. As if I had personally insulted her by not playing along with the system she had created. She said I was being selfish. That she had relied on me to bring the drinks and now nobody had anything to wash down the food with. That I had disrupted the entire energy of the night. She said all this while standing in the middle of her living room like she was giving a TED talk on friendship and responsibility. I let her talk. I chewed my slice slowly. I didn't interrupt. When she paused, I told her, calmly, because I wasn't going to get dragged into a performance, that I never agreed to bring anything. That I wasn't going to spend money and cook in someone else's kitchen just because a list showed up in a group chat. That being a host means actually providing something, not just assigning tasks and waiting for results. I told her that if she wanted people to help, she could ask. But what she was doing wasn't asking, it was expecting. And I was no longer playing along. She kept going for a bit, still trying to pull the whole, but I'm the host card, still talking about gratitude, about how much she was doing to bring people together. But I wasn't interested in debating her imaginary role in this situation. I finished my second slice, wiped my hands, packed up the rest of the pizza, and left. I didn't look back. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked out, quietly, without drama. Later that night, my phone buzzed with messages. Not from Rachel, of course. But from pretty much everyone else who had been there. One by one, people started texting me. Some were subtle, just saying, respect. Others were more direct. One friend admitted she had felt pressured into showing up, groceries in hand, just because she didn't want to be the odd one out. Another said she wished she had done what I did but didn't want to deal with the guilt trip. Apparently, once I left, Rachel kept doing what Rachel does, directing people, hovering, commenting on how things should be cut or seasoned. She didn't lift a finger. She didn't prep, didn't cook, didn't even help with cleanup. Apparently they all still had to cook everything themselves again while Rachel just scrolled on her phone. Update 3. After that last night the pizza protest, as one of our friends ended up calling it, things in the group felt different. There was this subtle but mutual sense of quiet rebellion in the air, like everyone had been waiting for someone to finally draw the line, and once it happened, it unlocked something. The messages I got that evening weren't just little nods of support. They turned into long threads of venting, laughing, disbelief, and eventually, planning. By the next morning, we were all still texting. It was one of those group chats where the notifications just kept coming, the energy shifting from passive-aggressive reflection to straight-up camaraderie. We started joking about how the next step would be to all bring pizzas and do it together, a unified front of greasy, cheesy resistance. At first, it was a funny hypothetical. But then someone said, what if we actually did it? What if we just showed up with our own food, walked in like it was normal, and gave her a taste of what we had been dealing with? The idea gained momentum fast. Everyone was in. No hesitation. No second thoughts. It was like months of accumulated tension had snapped, and the only way to really release it was to flip the script completely. So the plan was set. The next evening, a Sunday, we would all buy our own individual pizzas, show up to Rachel's unannounced, and do absolutely nothing except sit, eat, and enjoy ourselves. No bags of groceries. No side dishes. No drinks or foil or diced onions. Just pizza and presents. And that is exactly what we did. We coordinated times loosely, staggered a few arrivals so it didn't look too organized, but in a span of 10 minutes, every single one of us had arrived at Rachel's apartment, each holding a hot, greasy box of pizza like it was a sacred offering to ourselves. Some were plain cheese, some were pepperoni, one was veggie, another was that overly sauced deep dish that always made a mess. It was glorious. A table of chaotic, unapologetic self-indulgence. Rachel opened the door with the biggest smile, clearly caught off guard by how many people were showing up all at once. For a moment, she looked thrilled, probably thinking we were going above and beyond to rekindle the vibe. She welcomed us in, talking fast, animated, already moving into her usual rhythm of assigning roles. She said things like, "Jessica, can you go get ice, and, Brian, you were going to grab the chips, right? With the kind of breezy entitlement that had become her trademark. But this time, nobody moved. Nobody nodded or even acknowledged the instructions. We just made our way into the living room, settled into the chairs and couch, and started opening our pizza boxes one by one. No words. No fanfare. Just the smell of cheese and sauce and the soft crinkle of cardboard lids. She paused in the middle of the kitchen, holding her phone in one hand and looking completely confused. It took her a second to catch on, and then she asked if she could have a slice from someone's box, still trying to keep the hostess act going. I didn't look up when I said it, I just told her it was just for me. The others echoed the same sentiment, casually, as if we were talking about the weather. No anger, no sarcasm, just fact. That's when the mood shifted. You could feel it click for her. This wasn't a spontaneous pizza party. This was a mirror. This was the reflection of everything we had put up with for weeks. The invisible labor, the assumptions, the total absence of reciprocity. And now it was being handed back to her, one boxed meal at a time. She tried to argue. She said we were being rude, that this wasn't how friends treat each other, that she was just trying to organize something special. But nobody responded. We kept eating. Someone laughed softly at something on their phone. Another friend asked if anyone had napkins, not to Rachel, just out loud, and someone else handed some over. It was the most peacefully petty protest I've ever been part of, and it felt incredible. Eventually, Rachel just gave up. She stood there for a minute longer, then muttered something under her breath and told us all to leave. Her voice was shaky, but not angry. It sounded more like embarrassment than anything else. Like she couldn't believe her own system had collapsed. She didn't yell. She didn't demand anything. She just quietly asked us to go, and one by one, we picked up our pizza boxes and walked out. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't cruel, it was just honest. That night, hours later, the group chat lit up again. This time it was Rachel. She sent a long message, clearly written and rewritten a few times. She said she realized she hadn't been a great host. That she misunderstood what it meant to have people over. That she thought organizing meant assigning and delegating, but she could now see how it made people feel used instead of welcomed. She said she was sorry. And not just a quick apology, a real one. She said she appreciated the pizza message we had sent and that she was rethinking how she approached friendships. Surprisingly, no one flamed her in response. A few people liked the message. Someone sent a simple, "Thanks for saying that." And that was it. No parade. No victory speech. Just quiet closure. Since then, things have actually been smoother. Rachel still invites people over, but now it's different. There are no grocery lists, no itemized Venmo requests, no last-minute delegating. If she's hosting, she actually hosts snacks on the table, drinks in the fridge, music already playing. And if she needs help, she asks. Directly. With context. Like a normal adult. We still laugh about it sometimes, the pizza coup, but it's become kind of a turning point for all of us. A reminder that boundaries matter, even with friends. Especially with friends. So was I the asshole for bringing my own pizza and not participating in Rachel's DIY dinner party? I really don't think so.